Okay guys, welcome to phase 8 of this Android app development journey. We've really come a long way. Last phase we dealt with creating scalable screens and cameras. It was really interesting because this was all new stuff. And just as a reminder, going forward we would continue to use this approach of using weights to create our screens. This would allow us to create screens that scale. In this phase, we are going to be dealing with creating something called list views. List views is pretty much a list of content. And we're going to be diving into this list views using a simple app that is pretty much a banking app. So let me show you what the app is going to be like and then we'll dive into it. So we're going to be creating a banking app. Don't worry, it's not going to be too complex. But the whole purpose of this app is to um, wrap your mind around the concept of objects again, and also to wrap your mind around how to use a list view. It's the same thing you use every time when you scroll through, let's say, your favorite social media like Instagram, Facebook. As long as you're scrolling through content that seems to have no limits, it's probably a list view, you know, a list of content. So we're going to be diving into that in this session. I'm going to be showing you how to create a list view, how to add items to the list view, how to remove items from the list view, and how to pretty much understand the infrastructure of working with a list view. So we're going to be touching that, and then lastly we're going to be going through what hash maps are and the Android activity lifecycle. So let's dive in. We're gonna start off with creating this design. So let's go to our app. We're gonna add the button to launch this screen 8. So let's do that when I need a button. Okay, I'm gonna add constraints to all 4 sides. Yes, I am dragging these this aspect of the app because this is the first screen we created, and at that point we were still dragging. So I'm just gonna continue dragging um, for this particular first screen, and then as we progress to other screens, we're not gonna be doing the dragging stuff. Oh, by the way, if you want to zoom in, hold Control key and use your your mouse's scroll wheel. It's a much easier way to do it. You can also use your if you have a laptop, you can use your touch bar. Okay, so in this screen, we're gonna title this list views. Okay, I'm gonna find our text attributes. I'm gonna change that to screen 8 list views. All right. So the next thing we're gonna do is to create the screen for this and then connect this to that screen. So the last screen we created was screen 7 over here under our Java folder. By the way, just in case if this is not the structure you're seeing, you can change the structure from here by clicking this. It will probably be in project. It's gonna be partially looking different, but it's really the same thing. But the simpler form is to have it looking in the Android form, but the files under the hood is still the same. So let's create a screen for screen 8. So I'm going to right click on the app folder, new, activity, and then empty activity. I love empty because things are much simpler from there. So we're gonna call this screen 8, and then click next. By the way, in case you're wondering what this checkbox is for, this simply means if this is going to be the first screen of the app. If you have multiple launcher activities, your app is going to have multiple launch icons on the phone's home screen. I don't recommend that unless you have to, but otherwise you should only have one launcher activity. In case you make a mistake and have multiple, you can change that in your Android manifest file. Okay, so we're gonna go proceed, screen 8 sets. I'm gonna proceed, finish. Awesome. All right, so we have our screen 8. The next thing we're gonna do is now we're going to connect this button to this first screen, which is the main activity, so that the main activity could launch this new screen 8 that is currently blank. All right, so I'm going to assign an ID to this. I'm gonna click X here. So I'm gonna call this screen 8. Screen 8 button. Right, made a mistake. Screen 8 underscore button. All right, refractor. Awesome. So now I have the ID set. I'm going to now bring this in on the main screen. So I'm going to open up the first screen. As you can see, we already have a lot of buttons. So I'm going to add pretty much copy and paste to create another one here. 8. Then for screen 8, I'm going to copy this, change this to 8. Screen 8 button, and then find view by ID. This is going to be 8. All looks good. All right, then in our on-click listener, we are going to add a click listener for screen 8. So again, I'm just going to do a quick copy and paste here. Change this to 8, and then change this one to 8 as well to launch screen 8. It's really simple. So this should be working now. So the next thing we're gonna do is to start designing this screen. So if we look here, the first thing we should do is again to try to, if you're new to this, you have to first of all imagine which should be the root layout here. That means, should the root layout be a linear layout? Let me pull this up. That will be layout types. So when we are looking at this, you should imagine, should the root layout be a linear layout, a horizontal linear layout, or a frame layout? So as you can see here, the average orientation of the main content is a linear layout, a vertical linear layout, because as you can see here, the root of this here is aligned vertically to this one, to this box here, and to this box here too, and even to this box here too. So we should have a vertical linear layout as the root. So that's this one. We should have a vertical linear layout as the root. So with that in mind, we're going to go into our design activity screen 8, and then we're going to bring in a vertical linear layout. So we're going to click on layouts, and I'm going to end this. So layouts, I need a vertical linear layout, this one. I'm gonna bring that in. Okay, then I'm gonna add some constraints. So because this is a root, we're going to pretty much just click these four here. So right now it's really pretty much just um, you know, it's gonna match the parents pretty much. So now this is done. Now this is done, we can now add in our views to it. Um, and to do that, so looking at the design here, the first thing we have here is at the top, a profile selector. So it looks like uh, it's in a linear layout as well, but in this case, a horizontal linear layout because this is horizontal to this. So let's bring in another linear layout at the top. This will be a horizontal. Let's bring it in. This will be under the first one. Okay. And then next we have something else, another linear layout, because this one is a vertical because this is in a vertical arrangement to this one. So that makes this a vertical linear layout. So let's bring this one in. So, but first let's give this a name. Let's give it a name. User layouts. The users layouts. Okay, this is done. So next one we have the account balance layout. So this is a vertical linear layout. Let's make sure we have it in the proper hierarchy. So we're gonna call this balance layout. Okay. Then next we have an error label. This is also in a vertical arrangement to this one here. So we're gonna bring in a label that should be on the common. That's a text view, so we'll bring it in. All right, I'm gonna call this error text view. Okay, error text view. Looks like we previously had something like this before. Let's call this error text view 2. All right, so next we have another linear layout, but it looks like this one is another giant one that is going to contain a horizontal linear layout, a table view, and then this section down here. As you can see, as I'm looking at these, I'm at the same time calculating, how these things are organized. So as I looked here, I could imagine a line across here that divided this one and this one, and then another line across here that divides this one from this one. So that's how I know this is going to be another giant linear layout. So let's go ahead and bring that in. Wait, before we do that, let's see. Okay, so this section up here should probably be inside a layout itself. So that means at the root we have two main layouts. We would have two main layouts: a horizontal layout, sorry, a vertical layout that is going to hold this top half here, and then another vertical layout that is going to hold this bottom half here. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. So I'm going to bring in a vertical layout that is going to hold the top section before I bring in the bottom section. So that would be layouts vertical. I'm gonna put that at the top here. All right, then I'm going to move these in to here. I'm gonna move this one. I'm gonna make sure it's under this. Okay. Users layout, balance. Okay, having trouble bringing this in. I'm gonna redo it. So I'm gonna delete this. Let's see. So balance layout. Let's see. That was a vertical. So I'm going to bring that in. I'm not sure why I'm having trouble here. Okay, there you go. All right, so now I'm just gonna switch their positions. Awesome. So then this one I'm gonna rename it to balance layout again. Balance layout. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to add colors here first. Add colors here in a second. So now we have this top here, and then we just need to add this bottom here to now have the main roots layouts in place. So the top one is done. Now we need the second half. We also have our error label. This should have been error label. This should be right under the balance label in this layout. So I'm going to move this in here. And then simply move this in place. Awesome. So as you can see in this first layout at the secondary of the roots, we have our users layouts done. We have our balance layout, this one here, done. And then we have our error label, which is this one here, done. So let me explain what I just did here real quick. So I pretty much divided this whole thing like this. Where is it? Come on. I'm gonna use something different. So I pretty much divided this design into two like this. Why isn't my stuff drawing? Okay. I'm gonna fill this with black. Okay. Yeah, so this is what I pretty much did. You know, I created a layout for this one separately and the layout for this section separately, because eventually I want to assign weights to this part and then assign weights to this part. Okay. So this top is done. Now I am going to bring in this bottom side. For now, I'm just going to add a roots layout, which is going to be a vertical linear layout for this bottom side. And to do that, I will simply collapse this and then focus on this one. This is where I'm going to add, because this is the roots. This is the root rectangle you're seeing. So this is where I'm going to add the next layout, which is going to be a vertical again. All right, and then this is, I'm going to call this bottom section. I actually have this in the wrong hierarchy. It should be here. Okay, great. So this is the top half. This is the bottom half. All right, so I'm gonna call this top half. And then this is bottom half. All right. So now I'm going to assign a color to this top half so that you would understand what we're doing. Background. I'm gonna use nope. Yeah, this is better. Then for the bottom half, I'm going to assign a background to it. All right. Then if you remember, I'm going to now assign weights to them. So the top half is going to have a weight of 1. Then bottom is going to have a weight of 1 as well. As you can see, now they are divided equally. I need to change the color contrast. For this one, let's see, background. I'm gonna make it this. Yeah, perfect. Okay, this is ugly, but I'm just doing this for demonstration. So according to the design here, it looks like this is 30%, and this is, no, this is 40%, and this is 60% of the screen. So let's go ahead and do that. So in this case, I'm going to assign this, wait, where is my weight? So I'm going to assign, because this should be 30% and this should be 60, I'm going to reverse the values, remember, and put 60 here. And then for the bottom section, oops, I put that in the wrong place. So top half is my focus. So I'm gonna put, wait, first of all, I need to make sure this is match parents before I assign weights to them. So on the attributes, yeah, it's match parents. Then weights, I would assign 60 to it. Awesome. And then for the bottom section, it's match parent, awesome. This one is gonna get 40. Okay, so as you can see now, the weights are exactly what I want. So the next thing I'm going to do is to assign weights to the children, which is this one, and this one. So let's go ahead and do that. For top half, users layout gets something that looks like a 20. This balance layout gets the error level also gets a 20, and this one gets a 60. So let's go ahead and do that. So user layouts, match parent, awesome. I give this a 60. Remember, we're going to remember we swap out the values. We switch them out. Whatever they are, we switch them. So for error label, we should also get a 20. We'll give it a 60 because the center here is supposed to get the 60. So where is it? Wait, 60. Enter. Oh, you see, this should be match parent. Okay, and then for the one in the center, which is this one, we now give this a 20 because 20 is what we wanted to be here. Remember, you mentally or on paper assign weights to them, which is values from 1 to 100 or even 1 to 10. But whatever you assign has to sum up to like 100 or 10, whichever one you choose. So in this case, we're dealing with 100. So we assigned 60 to this, 60 to this. So this is going to get a 40. No, this is going to get a 20. All right. So weight will be 20. All right. So now I'm going to assign separate colors to this so that you can understand. So error level is going to get what? Background, where is it? I'm gonna give it red. This is for demonstrations. I'm gonna change this eventually. This one is gonna get red as well. Awesome. All right, so as you can see, it looks like this error label is too small and this top section is, so I'm going to increase their weight. And to do that, simply just gonna scroll up. So I'm going to give this a 50. No, yeah, 50. This one to 50. And then the center, so that will be 50 divided by 2, which will be 25. Okay, it looks good now. So I pretty much redistributed some weights. All right, so then the bottom section, we really only have two main things going on here. This section for which contains a button and indeed text and another button, and then the list view down here. So I'm going to race through this as fast as possible. It's pretty much the same concept until I get to the list view here. All right, let's dive in. So my bottom section, I need a linear layout that is going to hold these 3 items. So I'm going to add that linear layout. I can call this ATM section. Next, I need a list view. All right, list view. Oh, that should be. Okay, I'm just gonna search for it. List view. I'm gonna bring it in. All right. I'm gonna call this transactions list. All right, list view. This should be list view. All right. So next we have. I'm gonna ignore this just to save time. Next we have a switch here that is going to be toggling the accounts active or inactive. So pretty much when this is off, the account is inactive. When it's on, the account is active. So let's bring that in. A switch. I'm gonna search for it. Switch. It's pretty much the switch, you know. Nothing's extra special here. It's a toggle. So we're gonna leave this as switch 1. It's fine. So now, wait. We need to put this in a layout. We need to put this switch in a layout. As you can see, this switch is aligned to the right here. So let's bring it and put it in a layout. So we're gonna need another linear layout. Let's see. And then inside here, we're gonna put the switch. But before we do that, let's assign weights to these. So this looks like so this section here and this section here looks like they occupy 40% of the space. So that means I'm gonna give them 20, 20, 60. All right, how about that? Let's try that. So this one gets 20. Match parent, awesome. Let's give you 20 for weight. And then this one gets, this one gets 60. Yeah, this one gets 60, this one gets 20 as well. But remember, we reverse the attribute. So that means this one gets 60. This one gets 20, and then this one gets 60. All right. So this top section here is the one that was going to contain the two buttons and a text box. So let's do that. So ATM section. At this point, I'm going to get rid of these colors. I'm gonna get rid of these colors. I don't need them. All right. ATM section. You know what? Let me leave them till I come back to them. So we need a button, a text box, and another button. So we bring in a button into ATM section. All right, and then we bring in a text box. It's called edit text. Edit text, bring it down here. And then we bring in another button. All right, so now we have the three buttons in here. By the way, this ATM section should have been a horizontal layout, by the way. So let's go ahead and change this orientation. Search orientation. Orientation should be horizontal. All right, enter. So this button, we're gonna give it a weight of 1. So this should be match parents. Match parents. Remember, whenever you're dealing with weights, the length, the height and width should be match parents to keep things easy. So weight will be 1. That means I want to assign equal weights to them. This should be match parent as well, and then weight will be 1, and then this one should be match parent as well. Weight should be 1. Okay, so see that? So then I'm gonna just rename this to deposit. Text. Let's see the design. Yeah, this is withdraw. So withdraw, and this is deposit. Okay, and then for this one, it says name here. I'm gonna remove the text. I'd rather put a hint. By the way, let me change the input type to number. Let's see. Taking too long to find. I'm just gonna ignore it for now. So I'm gonna find the hint and call it amount. The amount the user wants to withdraw. So hint is pretty much, a hint. It's not the text you're editing, but it's just a hint that lets the user know what the text box should contain. Amount. Okay. All right. So now we have withdraw, text box, and then deposit. This is the table, the list view we have down here, and then at the bottom here we should have the switch. All right. So at this point, I'm going to change the background of these. I'm going to change the background of this to white for now. So that will be our bottom half. This should be white for now. Where is white? Okay. And then bottom here, I now need to add the switch. So our switch comes in. Okay, and then I'm going to add a space to the left of it. So space, and to add it to the left of it, I have to put it, at the root of this, because the views start from left to right. So now I'm just gonna assign weights to this. So for the space, I probably want it to contain a weight of, by the way, this should be match parent. And I'll switch to match parent. So then the space, we add a weight of 70. No, 30, because we are switching them. And then the switch gets 70. All right, see that? It looks just like the design. So now I'm just gonna change this text from switch to inactive, maybe. Well, let's just leave it as active. So is the account active? All right. So this is done. So the next thing we need to design is pretty much this. No, this should be blank because it's an error label. So it's pretty much this section up here. I am going to ignore this part here, because my intention is that when you click this, it loads Bob's bank account. When you click this, it loads Mary's bank account. This can be easily done using TinyDB and saving the bank accounts or loading them up, depending on when and where you need them. But to save time, I'm going to ignore that part for now and just focus on the bank. So we are going to design this. So this is in a vertical layout with a text view here and another text view at the bottom here. So let's go ahead and bring that in. Let's see. So on our top half, we have our user layout, which should contain 2 buttons, by the way. And then we have our balance layouts. So our balance layouts, let's see, we need a text view. And then we need let's see what we have here. We need another linear layout to hold a space here, a text view, and then another space here. All right, so this is a perfect example of view nesting. So let's bring this in. And then we're going to add a space inside, another space, and then our text view in the middle. And then we're going to assign a weight of 1. Wait, let's see, is it 1? So a weight of 70. That means this is going to be 15, 15. All right. Let's see, or even 60 would do. So let's keep it simple at 60. So this will get a 40. Wait, no, 20. So this would match parent, and it gets a weight of 60 because I'm switching them out. So this will get a weight of 20, and this will get a weight of 60. All right, so we need match parents. This one also match parent, and this one also should match parent. Awesome. So let's see what we have here. So this is it. Yep, everything looks good. So now we need to assign weights to this one versus this. So this text view up here, we should let me zoom in. So this text view up here, we're going to that's this one. We should assign a weight of let's see. Yeah, so pretty much this should be 30, this should be 70. No, this should be 40, this should be 70. So let's do that. So remember we switched them out. So this will get 40. So this will get a 60, match parents, and then the layout weight will be 60. And then the next one would now get a 40. Okay, looks like it's too much, so we're gonna give this a 30 and then give this one a 70. Looks great. All right, so this is what we have. So now we're just gonna customize the text views. This one says seed bank. All right, so let's give this a name. Seed bank. And this should be bold, text style bold, alignments, so I'm gonna search for gravity, I'm gonna make this center left. Awesome. Center left looks like what we want. So now we have it as center left. It looks like here there is a space between this and the actual text. So that means the text view has a margin on the left, or a padding. A margin is the space that comes before the drawing, before the boundaries of the view. So that means, imagine if this is a view. Imagine if this is a view. So if you add a margin, which is a type of space, the space is going to come outside here, outside the view's boundaries. If you add a padding, it's going to come inside the view's boundaries. So for this text view here, we're probably going to need a padding because we still want the background to show. So we're gonna add a padding of, let me search padding. First I'll click the view, then I'm gonna search padding. All right, so I'm gonna add padding to the left side. So I'm gonna go to left. By the way, this one adds padding to all sides, while this one specifically adds to the left. So for the left, I want to add padding of let's say 8 dp. So now I'm going to move forward to increasing the text size. I'm going to get rid of this. Text appearance, I want this to be large. Awesome. Seed bank is done. So now I need this. So for this one, it's pretty much the same thing. We're gonna make the text bold. Text appearance large, bold, gravity. Gravity center, and then what else? I'm gonna change the background to be slightly different. Background, where is it? It's always hiding. All right, so background, let's see. gonna make it this blue. Okay, no, what lighter? Yeah, this is great. All right. So now that we have these structures set, I can now hopefully get rid of these ugly colors. But I wanted you guys to see how using weights would help you design screens that scale. On the left side here, if you look closely here, you would see how everything is in a perfect alignment. Perfect alignment. No dragging because we are actually using calculated ratios here. So this is how using weights can help you design screens that scale. Again, you don't have to master this at once. Just play with it over and over again. It's going to stick. Um, Also, if you're ever having troubles dragging views into here, you can actually do this from code by clicking code up here. When you click code, you can do the same thing much easier. You can copy and paste views in code. It's much easier to me, but whatever works for you. So now let's make some changes to the colors. Let's see. So this cannot remain red. By the way, we need to add two buttons up here. So user layouts, and then another button. So for this one, I'm going to add padding to this root layout so that we can have space around it. So for this one, by the way, be careful on how much padding you add because paddings don't scale as much. Pretty much they don't scale, but I'm going to add it here for demonstration. So I'm going to use the root layouts. I'm going to add padding. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just gonna search for it. Padding. So here I'm going to add a padding to the left side of 20 dp, and then add padding to the right side of 20 dp. You see that? Then I'm going to add a margin to the left side of this button. Oh, by the way, I need to, let's see. I need to add equal weights to these buttons. So before I continue with the pattern, so this should be match parent. This one should be match parent as well. Match parents, match parents. All right. So then I add equal weights 1. This should be 1 as well. Awesome. So now we have this button. Don't worry, I'm gonna get rid of all these ugly colors in a second. So now I'm going to add a space in between. Remember I told you padding compresses the content kind of, while margin creates space from the outside. Padding creates space from the inside of the view. So that's why I added a padding of 8 dp on this one, and then it affected the children. But I'm now going to add a margin on this button, and you're gonna see it's going to affect the outside, because that's what margin is. It affects the outside of the view. So for this one, I'm going to add a margin to the right. Let's see, margin. So margin right, so I'm going to say 8 dp. And then this one, margin left, I'm going to say 8 dp as well. Margin, where is left? 8 dp. So there you go. So now it's looking much like our design over here. So this is Bob, this is Mary. I'm gonna rename this. So now text. Bob, Mary. Bob and Mary. All right. So now this is done. I'm just gonna get rid of all these ugly colors now. All right. So user layouts, background. Let's see, white. Balance layouts. Okay, that's top half. White as well. Well, let's make it kind of bluish. Let's make this design for real. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna copy this and then bring it to our user layouts. Simply use a darker version there. Not sure why I lost my background here. Okay. So user layouts, it's gonna get a darker version of this. So awesome. Okay, now our top half. What do we have here? So this is gonna get gonna paste the same code. Then our text view is gonna remain the same. This one is going to get the same background. Because this is our error label. Then the bottom half, this one, I'm gonna change it completely to let's see, I'm gonna make this lighter. Okay, yeah, that looks okay. So I'm just gonna make this top half a little darker. Where is it? Oops, I have the wrong one. Okay, I think that's user layout, yeah. Awesome. All right, then I'm gonna copy the same code and bring it into here. No, that doesn't look good. Okay, so now we have our withdraw button, deposit button. The next thing we are going to do now is focus on the actual implementation of the app. I'm gonna change the text size of this. Let's see, text appearance. It's already large. Is it? All right. So the next thing we're gonna do now is focus on the. So we have everything done. The next thing we're gonna do now is focus on the IDs of these attributes and then bringing them into our design. We're going to ignore this. We don't need this, but we do need this text view here. So let's make sure we have an ID for that. The ID for the text view is text view 6. I'm going to copy that. All right, so we're going to go to screen 8. I'm going to bring in a text view. This will be balance text view, balance. Okay, and then we initialize it. So balance text view will be equal to find view by ID, r.id dot replace the ID I have in my clipboard, and then the next thing we have here is our error label. By the way, I have to center the text. Let's see, gravity. Center. Awesome. All right, I'm just going to increase the size. Typeface. No, text appearance. Large. By the way, the reason I use text appearance instead of actually typing in the text size is because text appearance is scalable. The rest are not. All right. So I'm gonna change the text color to maybe something reddish to show it's an actual error. No, text color. This one. All right. Then I'm going to set the. That's not too. Let's see. Yeah, that's good. All right. So I am going to remove the text because there is no errors for now. It's only going to show when there is actually an error. So this is the next thing we're going to add to our layout. So error text view 2. This will be in screen 8. So I'm going to add another text view. This will be error text view. Then we initialize it. Error text view equal to find view by ID, r.id dot paste it the ID in my clipboard, and then the next thing we have is our withdraw button and our deposit button. So let's bring that in. So we have a button, withdraw button, comma, deposits button. Okay. I'm gonna bring that in. Let's take a look at the IDs. Withdraw. This should be withdraw button. And this should be deposit button. All right, so let's go to our code and bring them in. Withdraw button equal to find view by ID, r.id.withdraw. And then deposits equal to find view by ID, r.id dot deposits. Okay, so this too is done. The next thing we're gonna do now is bring in the rest of the widgets we're gonna need, which are going to be the list view. So list view and the switch. So the list view, the ID is transactions list view. Let's bring this, should be lowercase, list view. Awesome. So I'm gonna bring in a list view, and this would be no, let's just call it list view. All right, and then list view equal to find view by ID, r.id dot transactions list view. Then lastly, we have a switch for toggling the account active or inactive. So we have the switch. I'm gonna call this account status, or let's say bank status. Bank status switch. Okay. Then we initialize this bank. No, bank equal to find view by ID. Let's check the ID. So the ID is switch 2, r.id.switch 2. Awesome. So now we have the main views that we need initialized. The next thing we're going to do now is call a customize the list view. So by default, this design of list view we have here, it's not so cool. So let's customize it a little bit. I'm going to be sharing some custom customizations with you guys, which I recommend you use on your own. It helps the list view look good. This is, for example, when you want to click an item on the list view and you want the item to react to the touch in a cool way, this would help. So let me show you that. So we'll go to the code for our phase. We're currently in phase 8. So this will be ListView setup. All right. So for designing the list view, we're going to need this code here. So let's bring in this code here. Pretty much this one from here to here. We do not need these because it's already in the list view. We just need this. So let's copy this. All right, and go to our list view. So right click on the list view here, right click and click go to XML. It's gonna take you straight to where you need to be. So paste the code we copied from the snippet. Come back here. You know what? So since this is like this, let's take this background and switch it out with the bottom half background, just to keep things simple. So I'm gonna copy this. Design, bottom half, background. I'm gonna place that there. Enter. Okay, so the bottom half background is now the same color. So that means I'm not gonna need this anymore. All right. Yeah, things are dark. It's okay. We're gonna fix it. And then this one, we want the. Oh, you know what? Instead of changing this text color and this text color, let's leave it as it is. Okay. So instead, we get rid of this background. Yeah, so we get rid of the ListView's custom background just to save time. All right. Yeah, so the customization is done. The ListView now inherits from the parent's background. So the next thing we're going to do now is to customize each cell. Remember, every list view is special because it contains unlimited amount of views, and those unlimited amount of views they replicate the same um, the same view pretty much. So in a list view there is this which is repeated here, repeated here, repeated here, repeated here. So we're only going to create this once, and then the list view recycles them on its own. So let's design this one part. Okay, so if you look here, you're going to see that we have three text views. One holds the date, the second one holds the whatever the user spent the money on, and then the last one holds the costs, the transaction cost. All right, so let's design this. We're gonna go to our layout folder. Then we're going to say new layout resource file. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, layout resource file, and we're gonna call this we're gonna call it transaction cell. So transaction. Okay, transaction cell. All right, then it's pretty much going to be straightforward. We're going to design those three by adding a linear layout at the root. That's going to be a horizontal one. I'm gonna add it to match parents on all sides. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is I'm going to change the orientation of this because we are dealing with a horizontal alignment. Orientation landscape. Awesome. Oh, you know what? We don't actually need to change the orientation. Let's do it as portrait. So we have a text view. This one occupies 60%, and this one's occupied 20. So let's do that. So we already have this. So we'll bring in a text view. Command text view, text view, text view. All right. So this one, we're gonna call it. First, let's assign a height to this. So right now we are creating a custom cell. It's only in custom cells that a hard-coded height is kind of allowed. This is because we're going to change it back in code anyways. But for the visual design here, it helps to have some kind of fake representation of what we're going to have in reality. So I'm going to change the height to maybe what, 300? Let's see. Too much. Let's see, 150 dp. Still too much. I mean, it's 150 dp. Oops, this is wrong. This was meant to be in the root layouts. So this customization is meant to be here. So height 150 dp. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Too much. Let's do 100 dp. Awesome. Looks better now. All right. So now we have this. This one is also match parents. Okay. So now we focus on this, assigning weights to this. So this, like I said, should be 20, 60, 20. That means we're going to reverse these values to give this one 60, 20, 60. All adding up to 100. So this one, going to have a match parents, match parents, match parents, match parents, match parents, match parents. All right, then I'm gonna center all the text. Gravity. Center. Do the same for this one, gravity. Center. For the last one, gravity. Center. All right, then I'm going to change the text color to what? Let's try black for now. So text color, let's leave it as black for now. Text color, black. Text color, black. All right, so let's add some fake values. 229. Text. 229. And this one, the text is going to be what? Maybe gas station. All right, this one, the text is going to be $30. All right, so now we have some kind of design in place. I'm going to further reduce the height of this. It's kind of too much. Let's see. So I'm gonna click on the roots and then make this like 80 dp. Yeah, much better. All right, so now this is done. Next thing we're gonna do now is to add a background to this, okay? And we're going to create a custom background that is going to feature a clickable effect, rounded corners, and of course a color. So let's do that. So we're gonna go to our docs. So on the document, so under list view, under this one for list view, the snippets for list view, click that. We're going to click on this one that says custom cell background. Okay. Then we're going to copy the code here. This is a code that features what I just told you about rounded corners, clickable effect, and background color. So we're gonna put this inside our res.drawable. So in our drawable folder, which is this one under res, going to right click it, new, to where it says drawable resource file, click that, let's call this cell selector. Okay, and then I'm going to paste all that code I copied over there here. So this is gonna be a preview on our table view. This is what each cell is going to be like. As you can see, there are rounded corners here. It's not gonna be so clear, but in an actual run, you're gonna see it. So now this is our selector. I'm going to now add this as a background to our custom transaction cell here. So where it says background here, I'm now going to add that custom cell background we created. That is this one to the background. So I'm going to say cell selector, see it? Okay, so now it's in. It is in now. I think I need to make these texts bold. Yeah. All right. So now this is in. The next thing we're going to do now is to work on the code for this, because everything about ListViews are mostly, and in most cases, better done in code because the contents are dynamic. All right. So let's take one last look at our design. This is our design currently. So now we're going to focus on making the list view work. But before we do that, let's run this app and see. So building. Still building. Yeah, we are building a very big app, so it's taking some time. All right. Let's see. Okay, screen 8 is overlapped. Let me fix that real quick. Activity main. You see, you can't get these kind of issues when you are using weights. That's why I am recommending it to you guys. Okay, that's launched. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna fix this one in the next one. But anyways, screen 8. All right. So looks like our seed bank is hidden by this navigation bar, and our switch is also hidden. All right. So how are we going to fix this now? Let's make this app full screen then. Let's make it full screen. I believe we did that somewhere before. Let's go ahead and find that code real quick. Yeah, this was on screen 4. All right, so let's go find the code for screen 4 and make it full screen real quick. So screen 4, this was the code we used to make it full screen. I'm gonna copy that and bring it into screen 8. All right, so let's run the app again and check. Okay, let's check screen 8. All right, it looks much better now. So we're going to now move this towards the right a little bit. We're going to move this towards the right and somehow bring up our toggle that should be down here. So seed bank, let's see, we need more space on the left of it. Where is it? Over here. I'm not sure why this is not showing. I'm not so sure why it's not showing, but I'm not going to invest too much time in it for now. Just gonna make the seed bank show fully and then we'll proceed. So seed bank, let's center this. Trying to save time. All right. Okay, so we just need to find our toggle now. All right. Let's see. Thinking of the fastest way to do this. All right. Let's make the table view smaller then. Transactions, ATM section, transactions. So let's assign a smaller weight here. Let's see, 1, 1, 1. Okay, let's see if that's gonna make our widget show. Okay, now it's showing. Okay, so here is what I'm gonna do. Just to save time, I'm going to move this switch up here. I'm going to move it up here so that we don't have to look too much for it. All right. So I'm gonna press Command Z to revert this. All right. So we need another switch somewhere up here. Let's see what we have. So I can replace this with a switch. I can replace this one with a switch. And this has a weight of 60, so the switch is going to have a weight of 60. I'm going to get rid of this. This will be match parents. Match parents. So this has a weight of 60. This has a weight of 20. This has a weight of 60. Okay. All looks good. For the text, I'm going to remove the text just to make it neater. Let's see, text. All right, so switch is there. Awesome. We no longer need to worry about this one at the bottom here. Actually, I'm going to make this gone. So there is a feature. I'm going to make this bottom section gone. There's a feature called visibility. So this bottom section, I'm going to say visibility equal to invisible. I think I've touched that before. Visibility, that's here. I'll change it to invisible. All right. So this switch, the ID is going to be switch 3. So let's go ahead and update that in our screen. Switch 3. All right, so this is done. Now let's focus back on our list view. Just wanted to make sure everything was good. Okay, here's our little switch here. Withdraw button, deposit button. and then our table view down here. All right. Before we proceed, I'm going to add a padding to this bottom half section. Padding. I'm going to add a padding of 8. Going to do the same for the top section, top half padding of 8. All right, yeah, that looks better. Okay, so proceeding back into our project. So we were working on the table view with the list view. So we have added a custom cell. We've created a custom cell for it, which is this one. This is what the cells are going to look like. The next thing we're going to do is bring this all into code. And to do that, we already have our where is the code? We already have everything initialized. And you remember normally we would do set click listener. Well, this is a list view. We don't do set click listener for it to populate it, even though we still need a set click listener. We still need one public void set listeners, and then we call it from here set listeners, even though we still need one, but that's not how we deal with the list view. To deal with the list view, we need something called an adapter. Adapter is what populates the content of the list view. The adapter asks you, the programmer, hey, what should I load onto this cell? And then you tell the adapter what to load on there. So the adapter tells you what should I load on here, and then you tell the adapter what to load on there. So a good example of this adapter is found here. I created one for you guys that is going to make this whole process much easier. Fun fact, a list view is one of the hardest things you're going to learn in app development. So let's dive into the adapter. We're going to need some libraries to make this even much simpler, and those libraries are this one here, this one here. So copy this and bring it into your build.gradle file for the module. So our build.gradle file for module is this one. So just paste this code, at the bottom. All right, inside dependencies, and then sync the project. It's going to bring in this library. It's a list view animation and adapter library. It's going to make things much more easier and smoother. So for me, it's done. The next thing we're going to do now is look at this code we have here, where it says a full list adapter implementation Java. If you're on Kotlin, you can use Kotlin. It's really the same thing. But first, you need to bring this in. So now that I've done that, I'm going to click on this. So this is a perfect example of an adapter. Okay, this is how we use an adapter. You initialize the adapter, and then you pretty much say ListView.set adapter, and then the adapter, it's inside the adapter that you can now supply all those details your list view is going to need. Now pay attention to this part. So when we bring in an adapter, we just imported the library, of course. So we initialize the adapter. In this case, the name of this adapter is custom list view adapter. Then you say, secondly, you say listview.set adapter. All right. After that, you probably should have had this class in your activity. This class is the class that handles the adapter calls, like getView, which is the call that handles the current view the adapter is working on. So you don't need to worry about this getView method, but just know that that is what the adapter uses. But what you need to focus on is this section here that says view holder, get cell layouts, initialize cell children, adjust cell size, and customize cell appearance, and then add listener for children. These are really literally what they say. So view holder holds the views in our cell. Remember here we had where is it? Here we had 3 views, this first text view, this second one, and this third one. So the view holder holds those three views. That's really what it is. So that means if we have 3 views here that you plan to manipulate when the view is being built, the cell is being built, you should define them here in the view holder. Okay. The next method we have here is called getCellLayout. This is where you simply just return the layout ID of the cell you are using on this list view. In this case, we're going to be using this one here, which is called transaction cell. So that means we're going to be supplying transaction cell here. We're going to edit this and say transaction cell. It's really that simple. The next one we have here is the one that says initialize cell children. This is very simple. We simply do find view by IDs for all the cells we have here. We simply just initialize them like normal. We do them inside here for our cell. Okay. Then the next one is the function that says adjust cell size. This is where we set the height of the cell pretty much, and we do it in a very easy way, simply by just changing this number here. Right now it's 7. That means the screen height is going to be divided by 7 to get the cell size, the cell height. So you can play with this number until you get a perfect height that you want. That means you can pretty much imagine this one, since it uses the screen height to create a scale, a ratio. So that means this one, as it is probably the screen height divided by maybe 12 to get this height. So you simply just play with this number here until you get the size you want. You really don't need to worry about the rest of the code. But one thing I should mention here is that when you are resizing a view in Android, you use this code for the resizing, okay? But one thing you should note that is that this part has to be the same name as the view that is holding the view you want to resize. So that means if you are in, say, America, and you want to resize the state New York, okay? New York is the state you are trying to resize, but this has to say America. You know, if you are in France, you're trying to resize Paris, this would say France. It would also say France here, okay? So the same concept, we're trying to resize a cell in a list view, so this would say list view. This is good to know. All right. So by the way, back to what I was saying, when you're resizing a view in a cell, you simply just adjust this number till you get what you want. And then the next function says customize cell appearance. This is where you're gonna be spending a lot of time, because this is where you now customize the attributes of the views in your cell. All right. So that, for example, here this one is saying view holder food name text view set text, set the name. It's going to be happening in this customized cell appearance. All right. So the next one we have here is add listener for children. Don't focus on this for now. This is for like when you have buttons in your cells and you want those buttons to react to clicks. We're gonna deal with this in the next phase, but not now. All right, so let's actually practice this. But before we dive into practicing, we need to import this code up here into our tools. So you can copy this. It doesn't really matter if you're on Kotlin or Java. Just copy this into your tool file. I've tried to make that tools file Java, I believe, mostly. So under the tools, under your utils, paste that maybe at the bottom. Okay, and then import this. All right, so this is in. The next thing we're going to do now is, why do we have an error somewhere here? Did I bring in? Oh yeah, I brought in an extra parenthesis. Let me correct this real quick. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is, we've brought in the snippet for tools. So as you can see in this this class here, I designed it to really give you the specific things you need just to create a table view. No bells and whistles, just really what you need to create it in a very easy way. So the first thing we're gonna need is an instantiation of the height and width of our screen. So let's bring that in. Let's bring that into our activity. That will be screen 8. Screen 8. So we need height and width. All right, and then we need to initialize those. And to do that, we simply say screen height. Let's do that here. Screen height equal to tools dot get screen height. It's really that simple. And then we pass in the context of our application. So we need a context. Call this C. So here we say context. No. C equal to get application context. All right. So now we can use the context in our tools call. All right. So we say screen width equal to tools dot get screen width. Pass in context. We're done. All right. So this is essential and it's now done. I'm gonna move this up. All right, so this is done. So the next thing we're gonna need is a list of the items we want to load into our list view, because it's a list view. So we are going to be dealing with a bank object. All right. So this brings us to the concept of the bank object we're going to be using today. So let's go ahead and bring that in real quick. Let's see. So this is the bank object. So copy this code. I'm going to explain the code in a second, but for now, copy this code. It's under here. Interface 8 is the bank object, so copy this. There is no Kotlin version for this, and that was intentional. This is because I want the Kotlin users, those who are learning this with the mindset of Kotlin, I want you guys to know that you can actually use a Java object without converting it to Kotlin. So you simply just call the object like you would call it a regular Kotlin object. So I'm going to copy this, and then go to my Android Studio. Under Utils, New, Java class. Let's call this bank. And then we paste the bank in here. Remove duplicate packages if you have one. Alright, so the bank is ready, no errors, good. Good. Alright, so if you remember, I was telling you how we need a list to set up our adapter, which will be here. So let's go ahead and create this list. I'm going to copy this. This is an array list of string. It's initialized here. I'm going to bring this in real quick and then make changes to it to comply with our bank. But for now, it's going to be a food. So I'm going to bring this in. I'll copy this. All right, so screen 8. This will be our list that our adapter is going to be using. All right, so let me initialize this list. So here I added some items. All right, let me copy these. All right, so initialize the food list and then added items to it. All right, so now I am going to bring in the adapter. All right, so as you can see, this is our activity. Here we have the Oncreate. After the parenthesis closes here, we have the set click listeners, and then it's below this set click listeners that we're going to add this special adapter. All right, so let's go ahead and bring that in. So this is the adapter here. It says public class custom list view adapter. So let's copy this. I'm gonna click raw. So custom list view adapter. I'm gonna copy that. So the adapter goes before the last parenthesis. That's before this one. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna go back to Android Studio, and before the last parenthesis, I'm going to paste my adapter. Okay. Now, these errors are okay because we just imported stuff. We need to import the classes. So the first thing we're gonna need to do is go ahead and resolve these errors. Array adapter, we want the one that says Nick Hammond. This one, it's from the library I told you to import. Okay, now this is in. The next error we have is, let's see, get view. So we need to import view, view, Android view, view group, Android view. So pretty much imports all this stuff, you know. Pay attention to mostly, especially this one. It has to be the com.nhammond.listview animations because there are two. I don't want you to get the other ones, the correct one. All right, so I'm gonna continue resolving this. Even though I'm not gonna need this, but I'm gonna import this for now. This doesn't exist. I'm gonna ignore this for now, just making sure I have everything. ABS list view, we're gonna need this. What else? Okay, so that's all the errors for now. So this is our adapter here. All right, and like I told you, the main thing you need to focus on here is these functions down here from this class: view holder, get cell count, get cell layout, initialize cell children. Pretty much from here down, you need to focus on. From here up, you don't need to. all you really need to know about this upside is that this right here, this parameter here that says string, that's this one, it has to be the object that this your list view is dealing with. So right now we are dealing with a list of string. Okay, so our adapter is going to be dealing with string. If I change that to a list of integer, then this should be integers. We're going to modify that in a second, okay? But first, let's initialize our adapter. All right, so as you can see here, we have to import our adapter. So we simply say custom ListView adapter. We're pretty much initializing it. I'm gonna do that here before our list view. I'm gonna move this up to keep our list view stuff together. So this is our custom adapter. I'm gonna initialize it now. So it takes in a parameter of context and then a parameter of the list of items that we are going to be dealing with in this list view. So context will be C, and then our list of items will be this food list that we've added stuff to up here. So I'm going to pass in our food list, okay? All right, so this is pretty much how you initialize the adapter. Then the next thing you're going to do is pretty much, set this adapter on the list view by saying ListView.setAdapter. It's really that simple. Okay. So I'm gonna say ListView.setAdapter, and then you pass in the adapter, which will be custom adapter. So this is really how you set up a list view. The rest happens here. Okay, and to keep things simple, I am going to minimize these ones we're not going to be using. Minimize this, and also minimize this get view to focus on what we're actually going to be using. All right, so like I said, this list type, which is string, you make sure that this part that says extends, that inside here, that's what you have there. The same thing with this one too. So now we have this done. I'm now going to get rid of this and actually use what we're going to be using today, which is a bank. All right, so remember we have a bank class. We have a bank object, and this is because the app we're creating today is a bank, and the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna have a bank object for every user that signs up for our bank account. All right, so that means every bank is going to have a variable that contains all these details: bank balance, transactions, whether the account is active or not. We're gonna have all these. So to do this, I created a bank object. Now the reason why I created this bank object is, of course, for this app, and also so that you can understand the concept and how to use a lot of features I added to this class. So this is our bank object. At the top, you're gonna see the class initialized. We have a double which contains the bank balance. Remember, doubles can contain decimals. That's the difference between double and integer. The next thing we have here is a list of transactions, an array list of transactions. The next thing we have is an array list of possible sources that this user can make transaction from. The next thing we have is the user's age. The user's age, the user's name, address, account status, and then this is our constructor where we, by the way, if you're on Kotlin, it's pretty much the same thing, just different syntaxing. Then we have our deposit function. This is one of the key functions in this app, because when you click deposit, everything here happens, which includes checking if the account is active or not, and then adding the balance onto the current balance, creating a transaction object, adding it to the transactions list. Now, I want you to, on your free time, study this class and understand everything you can on this class, because you're gonna be using these things on your own while you create your own apps. So it's very important that you understand these concepts, especially the thinking process. So we also have the withdraw function that withdraws if the account is active and if the account's balance is not zero, and also if you can afford the withdrawal. So and it also adds that to the transactions list. We have a get balance function. We have a get transactions function, set account status, get account status. I think in the previous sections we directly modified values here, but in this particular class we are using a get functions and set functions for them, which is like the more standard way of doing them. So then lastly, we have an inner class called transaction, which contains the transactions you make, and then this inner class is used up here to hold the list of transactions that the user has made. So we have our bank object in. Today we are going to be using mainly the withdraw and deposit function. All right, so let's create a list of bank account of transactions. That's what this should be. Okay, transactions. And then I'm gonna change the name of this to transactions. All right, so it's this I'm now going to eventually pass into our adapter here. Then our adapter will do the rest of the handling and stuff. All right, so let's first of all create a bank for our app. So let's create the bank. Imagine we have our users bank. So bank. Let's call this bank. Let's call it bank. This would be, let's initialize it here. I'm gonna get rid of this. So bank will be equal to new bank. So string name, the person will be let's call him Bob, and then age, let's call him 23, and then string address, let's say Florida. All right, that's our bank account. So the next thing we're gonna do now is we're going to pass in this person's transactions into our adapter. Another thing I want you to know is that this could also be loaded from memory, like I told you earlier. So you can use TinyDB to save the bank account and load it from memory. All right, so custom ListView adapter requires a list of the content you want to load into a list. So let's go ahead and do that. So this will be bank dot transactions, get transactions. All right, so we have an error because the custom ListView adapter is not designed for transactions. So let's go ahead and modify this custom ListView adapter here to deal with transactions. All right, so this should be, oops. So this should be transactions, and then make the same change here under the constructor of the class. See? All right, so I'm gonna make this full screen now. View. All right. So we've passed in bank.get transactions up here. We passed it in here as well. We passed it in here as well. So now there is no more errors for that. So that means we've successfully initialized this. So now everything else is left to the fate of what we define in these functions of view holder, get cell layouts, initialize cell children, so and the rest of them. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So remember we had 3 text views. Let me show you. Come on. View, appearance, exit, presentation. So on our design, which is cell, transaction cell, we have 3 text views. So the first one, let's call that dates. So let's call this transaction dates, trans dates as the ID. And then gas station, let's call that transaction trans place. Oh no, let's just call this vendor name. Okay, and then the last one, amounts. Really that simple. Amounts. Amount price. Amount price. All right. So amount price. So this one is transaction dates. This one is vendor name, and then amount price. So now these 3 text views, we're now going to dive into our our code and bring them in. So that will be in our screen 8. I'll get rid of this. Screen 8. So it's now in here that we're going to initialize this. We're going to declare those variables. All right, so I'm going to simply modify this. So we have the text view. The first one is transaction dates. All right, and then I'm gonna get rid of this. Second one is transaction vendor name. Okay, and then third one is text view. That was the amount price. So this is a text view. I'm gonna put TV at the end. TV. Transaction date text view, vendor name text view, amount price text view. All right. So this is the declaration of those variables. Then inside the initialize cell children, we initialize them from there. So we say, just like this example here, we say view holder dots transaction dates text view. So we say view is the view that we're dealing with, view.find view by ID. You already know. So here we say trans dates. All right. Why do we have an error? Let's see. Um, Transaction date. It's a text view. Let's see. Oh yeah, this should be a text view. So it's the cast that is a problem. Oh, we really don't need this cast anyways. So I'm gonna get rid of the casts. All right. So for this one, this would be vendor name TV. I'm gonna copy this. So view holder dot vendor name TV equal to view dot, here we always need to say view first dot find view by ID, because we're trying to find the view within the view, the cell that we are currently on. So we have to always say view dot inside this block of initialize search. We have to always say view dot find view by ID, and then we say r dot ID dot, and this will be vendor name, all right, and then we simply do the same thing for the other one, which would be the price. So view holder dot what do we have? Amount price TV amount. I'm pretty much replicating these here. So amount price TV equal to view dot find view by ID, r dot ID dot amount price. Awesome. So now we have the three text views: the transaction dates, the vendor name, and the amount price. We now have them initialized. Good. The next thing we're gonna do is the layouts. Remember, this is where we provide the layout of the cell that we're working on, the one we created. So this should be r.layout.cell, call it transaction cell. That's this one. Okay. So this is done. So we'll move on to the next stage. We've done the declaration of variables, or declaration of views. We've specified the layout these should be in. We've initialized those views. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to adjust the cell size. We said we wanted it to be adjusted by a factor of 7. Let's leave it as it is, for now. When the app runs, and then if we need changes, we can make changes. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is customize cell appearance. So now this is where we're going to be spending a lot of time, because we're going to be customizing those cells. So the first thing we have here is transaction dates. So we're going to say view holder. Or before we do that, we have to grab our item. So this is a perfect example. So first of all, you grab your item, the item you're currently on, and then you use it to customize the views. So the first item we have is not a food, it should be a transaction. So we say transaction. I'm gonna call this tr. Let's call this tr equal to get item, and then we pass in the position we're in. This is the position of the list that we are currently dealing with. We pass in that position. So now we have a transaction. I'm gonna call this transaction, just to make it much more readable for you guys. So now we have a transaction. We can now use the transaction to do whatever we want. So The first item we have here is a transaction date. So down here we say viewHolder dot transaction date TV. That's a text view. Dot set text. Okay, and then we pass in the date. So we have transaction dot date. All right, now we need to convert this date to a string. All right, so let's dive into how to do that. So here we have working with dates. The Java and Kotlin is the same, just different syntaxing. So there is a way to convert a date object. This is a date object. Let me show you, where is it? This is a date object. There is a way to convert this into a string. And that way is by doing something that looks like this. You can study this in your free time, but it pretty much is shows you how to initialize a date object. The next thing, it shows you how to convert it into a string. This would give you the full time, including year, day, month, hour, even milliseconds. But we don't want that. That's going to be too long. What we need is just the hours, minutes, and the time of the day, pretty much like 6 p.m. Okay, so that means we're going to copy this. We're going to copy this function and then make a little change to it. This function is under the working with dates. All right, so I'm going to create a function below here before the last parenthesis. Or actually, yeah, before the last parenthesis, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna paste it here. Get current dates. I'm gonna pass in the dates. Dates. I'm gonna call it D. So that means so I'm just gonna replace this with D. Or let's just call this dates, and then completely get rid of this one. All right, so this code will now give us the format of hours, minutes, and PM or AM. So this returns a string, and then let's import this locale. Yeah. Oops. All right. So now this is done. We can now use this function to grab a string. So pretty much the key is here. You can change this to whatever format you want. Could be rearranged in any way. You just have to make sure you use the syntax in HHMM, however you want. All right, so let's bring that in. So transaction date TV.set text, we're gonna pass this into get current. So let's change this to string. This is not gonna be too long, so we're gonna say string date string equal to get current date string. We pass in the transaction object transaction.date, and then viewHolder.set this set the date equal to date string. Hope this makes sense. So the next thing we want to customize is the vendor name. So the vendor name should be viewHolder dot vendor name dot set text, and this would be transaction dot vendor name. Why isn't it showing? Transaction dot source, my bad. All right, and then the last one will be amount price TV. So this one will now be where is it? So view holder dot amount dot set text. This is where we now say transaction dot what is the amount? Yeah. So this gives you a very clear concept of why we made this to be a separate object, so that we can access all this bulk as in a list and use it to make some changes. So we need to add quotes to this to make it a text. All right, so this is done. So now we've customized the cell. The next thing is adding button listeners, but we don't want to do that now. But we do want to add a cell click listener. That means when the you know what, let me run the app first so that you see what it looks like before adding more stuff. So this is how you create a custom adapter. It's really straightforward. Just import this code and make changes to this section. Make changes to this section and you should have your list view going. So we added, we created a bank, we created our adapter, we set the adapter on the list view. So the only thing we now need to do is we need to make the deposit buttons working. That's these buttons, withdraw and deposit. We need to make them work, and we need to make this text box work as well. Let's see if we have the text box initialized. We do not, so we need to go bring it in. Let's see. View X. All right, so let's bring that in real quick. Activity screen 8. So we forgot this text box over here. Do we have an ID on it? So the ID should be amount text box. All right, this should be lowercase because it's in the XML. XML prefer lowercase. Okay, that's why I'm using lowercase as IDs. So back to screen 8, we need to bring in an edit text. All right, I'm gonna call this amount text. Let's call it amount edit. Well, let's call it text box. Amount text box. All right. All right, amount text box amount equal to find the by ID r.id.amount text box. All right. Okay, so amount text box is done. So in the set click listeners, we're now going to implement the click listeners for the withdraw button and the deposit button. It's now in these buttons that we are going to define what happens when these buttons are clicked. So let's start with the withdraw button. So we say withdraw button dot sets on click listener, new on click listener. Okay, I'm gonna turn this to lambda to make it cleaner. So when the withdraw button is clicked, what do we want to happen? I'm going to copy this and paste for deposit button as well. So when withdraw button is clicked, what do you think would happen? We want to withdraw money from our bank account, and the money is specified in our let me make this bigger. So when this button is clicked, we want to withdraw money from our bank account, and that money is defined here. Same thing when the deposit button is clicked, we are depositing money that is entered here. So when withdraw button is clicked, we want to grab the text from this box here. So let's do that. Double, this text should be double, should be a double. So double amounts equal to amounts text box dot get text. Okay, now this returns a toString. Now this returns a string. Okay, we need to convert this into a double. So we put this into a cast for double by saying double dots double value, I believe. Double, yeah, pass double. Yeah, double dot pass double will pass in this. All right. So that's the amount we are trying to withdraw. Then we now use the bank objects to actually attempt to withdraw this amount. All right. So we say bank dots withdraw. So as you can see, the parameters, we pass in the withdraw amount, and then we pass in the error text field that is going to display the error when there is an error. Do we even have this error text view brought in? Let me see. Yeah, we do. And we have it initialized. Awesome. Okay, so bank dots withdraw amounts, which is this number here. And let me change it to withdraw amounts. Withdraw amounts. Withdraw amounts. All right, so now the next thing we have to do is to simply just pass in the error text view in case there is an error trying to withdraw this. All right. So bank.withdraw, that happens. So now when this happens, remember this function, it withdraws the amount, updates the balance in the account, and updates the list of transactions. So that means after this, we should update the visuals of the app by updating the account balance. So to do that, we have our balance text view, which we initialized here. Text view 6, is that correct? Let's check. This is yeah, it is correct, but it's not so defined, so let's call this balance text view. Okay, I'm gonna make this adjustment in screen 8. Awesome, it's updated itself. Awesome. All right, so balance text view. So bank.withdraw, after that happens, we update the balance text view. So balance text view dot, well, I believe this returns a, double, yeah, it returns the amount. So balance text view dot, let me bring this back to full screen. Set text, and then we pass in bank dot get balance. Dot should put this into a string cast. This makes it a string, so we should be good. And then lastly, we update the transactions. A good way to do this is before we do the withdrawal, we check the size of the transactions. That way we know if the transaction went through. Oh, actually, let's see. There are multiple ways to do this, but let's leave this checking for now. Let's imagine the withdrawal always goes through, just to keep things simple. So balance text v dot set text dot get balance. Then the next thing we want to do is we want to reload this list by saying custom adapter dot notify data sets changed. So this notifies the adapter that, okay, we've made some changes. You probably want to check and see if you need to refresh yourself. All right. Another way of doing this, depending on what you're working on, would be to say custom adapter dot add transaction. You add a transaction that you want, add a transaction. That's another way to add stuff. So for now, we are simply doing this internally by saying withdraw, and then we are reminding the adapter to update itself here. All right. So, but imagine if a user created something like if a user is working on a note-taking app, and each time they create, they click the button save, you probably want to say custom adapter.add notes, depending on how the app is built. Okay, so we're not going to be using this method for now. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to go into the withdraw button and do the same thing pretty much. Wait, this is the same. Sorry, deposit button. This should be deposit. And do the same thing. So in the deposit, we say bank. Well, first of all, we get the amount. This should be deposit amount. And then we say bank.deposits. Okay, and then we pass in the amount, deposit amount, and then we pass in the error text view. All right, so the next thing we do is we say custom adapter.notifies data set changed. This is because yeah, we need to do the balance as well. Again, this is because we are not manually we're not directly updating the adapter, the list. So we are doing this internally. So we're pretty much just reminding the adapter to change itself, to update itself. So this is done. The next thing we're going to do now is check and see if everything is good. So withdraw checks this box, updates the list, deposits grabs text from this box, updates the list, updates the text view up here. I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, the error level is there. This one is there. So we need to, we're gonna get back to this, but first let's check if the app is working. So currently no errors. We have done all this, no errors. We set up the adapter, set listeners. In the listener we have withdraw button, deposit button. Okay, so when we come back, we're going to implement clicks and implement this if everything is working. So let's go ahead and run the app. Okay, we have an error somewhere. We have an 8 value somewhere. Shouldn't be there. Come on, show me where. I think that must be here. Let's see. Put an I think that was in the top half. I put padding. Let's see. It's saying I didn't put DP. Oh yeah, it looks like it's here. Yeah, so I was missing a DP. Okay, so DP. See, we always need the metric. All right, let me try running this again. Did I have this in multiple places? Okay. Okay, app has launched. Let's check it out. Screen 8. So bank balance is 0. I'm gonna enter an amount. Let's see, $8. Let's deposit successful. Okay, it showed. Let's try another one. Let's see, 400 deposits. That worked as well. It looks like we need to really increase the text sizes here. It's really tiny. All right, let's work on that real quick. So that will be transaction cell. Text size, man. Let's see, text appearance. Large, thank you. Large. What else do we need to make changes to? We need a padding on this bottom section. Thought I did that before. Screen 8. There is a pattern. For some reason it's not showing here. That's weird. Let's see. Let's double this up. Padding 16 dp. All right. Okay, Okay, so let's run the app again and see how this looks. Okay, yeah, for some reason, for some bug, the pattern is not working. But anyways, so let's add an amount. Let's see, $88 deposits. That worked. And then we let's add another one, 20 deposits. That worked. So 1:44 a.m. That's correct. Food truck. This deposits came from a food truck. This deposit came from a gas station. So let's do some withdrawals. Let's try withdrawing just $2 because we're trying to save money. Withdraw. That worked. -2. See that? Let's also try another one. $6. Withdraw. Click withdraw. That worked as well. Okay, so everything looks like it's working. One thing I would do though is I'm going to let's see. I'm going to make this list view background, this bottom section background darker. Yeah, let's see. All right, so if it's darker, then this will show better. And then this is too big. We need to make this smaller. To make it smaller, as you might have guessed, we would simply just increase this number under adjust cell size. We're gonna increase this number because the more the numerator, the bigger the dimension. So we're gonna say maybe 9. Let's try 9 for this, and then let's run the app real quick and see. Let's see. $8 deposits. Yeah, so I think 9 works great. 70 deposits. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see, but there is a rounded corner here. That's because in that custom selector we added, this one cell selector, it contains the attributes for radius. So it's this, if you modify this, you can actually change the corners of all 4 sides. So on your free time, I highly recommend you study all this, look into how they work and what makes them up. And this is the color that you see there as the background, and then when it contains focus, this is the color. Because when I click it, look, when I click it, you see a different color. That's because I specified that in this selector. Here, see that? This is darker than this. So study these and see how they work and replicate it in your projects. And if you're wondering again, cell selector is used in transaction cell. When we created this, we added this as a background image. On the background, where is it? On the where is it? Okay, yeah, root layouts. Okay, then background. Yeah, background right there. So that's when we put this cell selector, and then this cell selector we put into our drawable folder here. All right. So back to the project. So this is looking good. Time, source, and the amount. This needs to contain dollar notation, so let's add that, even this one too. Let's see, screen 8. So balance. So we need to add a dollar notation here. All right. We also need to do this for withdrawal, and then we also need to do it for our get view in our list view, so where we have the customized cell appearance. We need the amount price. If we need to put the dollar here, the dollar sign, I mean to say. So with this, what else do we need to make changes to? I'm going to try adding margins here and see if that would work. These are all quick fixes. Let's see. So ATM section, I'm gonna add left margin, margin left 8, margin end, margin right 8 as well. It's DP. I can't forget this. It's DP. All right. Oh, by the way, when you are specifying like dimensions, you use DP, but when you are specifying text size, you should use SP. SP like this. SP. All right. But when you're specifying dimensions, use DP. When you're specifying text size, use SP. DP means density pixels. SP, not sure I remember what exactly it means, but just know that that's what you use for text sizes. All right, so everything is working. Let's check the new design, and then when we come back, we implement this toggle. All right, app has launched. Let's see. Okay, so withdraw. Oops, I forgot to enter the amount. Yeah. All right, you know what? Let's go ahead and fix that. So the app crashes when there is nothing in the text box. So let's go ahead and check for that error real quick. Let's see. Screen 8. So in our click listeners, again, what I'm doing always kind of like remember these stuff. So if so let's grab the text from the text box. So let's say string entered text. Okay, enter text equal to, gonna paste this there, amounts text box get text, enter text dot get text dot toString. So, and then we pass this into here, enter text. All right, so then we say if enter text dot trim, that means we trim out all the spaces before and after whatever text the user entered. If enter text dot trim dot is empty, we don't want to do anything, so we simply call return. That means this code is going to end here. The code ends here. All right, so this will catch whenever there is an empty string, and it prevents it from proceeding further and causing a crash. So we're gonna paste the same code here into our deposit button. And then this will be enter text. All right, so let's run the app again and check. So withdraw, see it doesn't crash, deposit it doesn't crash because the code returns when it notices that this is empty. All right. So the next thing we're gonna dive into now is this toggle here. That is this on the design. This one. We're gonna use if the account is active, we don't do, and if the account is active, we go ahead. If the account is not active, we don't do anything. All right. So let's go ahead and implement that. So we're gonna need to know when this switch is flipped. So we're going to say switch, what did we call it? Let's see, bank status switch. All right, bank status switch dot set on check change listener, new on check change listener. All right, so this is how we do it. Then in here is where we now say if it's checked, that means the user turned it on, do something else, do something. So if it's checked, we want to set the bank status to bank dot set account status to is checked. That means true, whatever the person passed in. If it's on, we set it to that. If it's off, we set it to that. All right, so if it's checked, that means the account is, if the user turned it on, we set the bank status, because this is a boolean, so I'm pretty much passing it straight into that. Then depending on what happens here, the transaction would go through or not, because when the user calls this code, it actually checks if the account status is on or not. All right, so let's run the app again and check. All right, so now it's off. I'm gonna turn it on. So I'm gonna add $7 deposit. That works. Let me add let's say $9. Let's withdraw $1 while the account is deactivated. So $1 is here. Click withdraw. See, account is inactive. It doesn't work. See that nothing is updated. All right. So now this is done. I've shown you how to use this. I've shown you how to update a list view. Let me show you how to remove an item from a list view real quick. So pretty much it's really simple and straightforward. So imagine we wanted to remove an item. We simply say custom adapter dot remove, and you pass in the location of the item you want to remove. So remove, let's say item 0. You know, that removes the first item in the list. It's really that simple. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is, I've shown you this. The next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to create a list view that is dynamic, the one that when it adds stuff to the list view, it comes out pretty. Okay, so let me show you that. Let's see. So in the code we got the adapter from, there is so much here. So that would be this one. So in this code, is it this one? Yeah, in this code there is a code for There is a code for copying for dynamically setting the items of an adapter to show. So that's this code here. It's really the same thing, but I'm going to show you how it works. So we copy this, and then we go to where we set our adapter. In there, we pretty much below it, we put it there. Then once we have it there, we simply import these values. So this one is swing bottom in adapter. We import this value. We import this, and then we simply uncomment these. So now this and this, there is not much difference. This one is pretty much a straightforward setting of an adapter, and then this one, what happens here is we are wrapping this into a swing bottom in adapter. I'll show you what this means, but this is how it works though. To get this to work, I'm going to uncomment this part because we are doing it again here. We're doing the set adapter here. So I'm going to uncomment this one because it's not needed anymore. But basically we are initializing this special swing bottom in adapter and then passing this custom adapter into it, and then we are setting this swing bottom in adapter into our list adapter, into our list view. So let me run this so you can see how this looks. All right, let's see. So I'm going to add some values. 88 deposits. You see how it swings in? I'm going to add another money. Let's see. You see, it swings in from the bottom. 30. You see that? Let me add 21. You see that? So this is what I mean by using a list view that creates its content dynamically. Now, imagine the user opens the screen for the first time. Let me add some default values so that you kind of see what this looks like when there is values by default. So let's say bank dots deposits. Just gonna copy this to make it faster. Bank dot let's see, 12, and then I'm gonna call this 20 just to make things unique. 442, 33, 11. All right, so we have 12, 20, 442, 33, 11. All right, so watch when I launch the app, these values are going to swing in from the bottom. All right, let me show you that. It's loading. You see that? That's the animation I want you to see. So when you use this for the first time, you almost never go back to the list views that don't have this animation because they look so much more natural. So let's see. So now this is done. I think we have a few more things to cover. Let's see. Let's see. Uh, so we've gone over creating a full banking app, a full banking object. We use the banking objects to create our banking app. We went over how to implement a list view. We designed it. We talked about margins, patterns, spacing. We set up a list view, set up the adapter, set up the animations. Remember that in the adapter of a list view, you simply need to just focus on those stuff we have down here after after this get view. The view holder, the get cell count, initialize cell children, adjust cell size, customize cell appearance. Then this add listener for children we're gonna deal with in the next phase. That reminds me, there is one more thing I need to show you, which is how to deal with the clicks. So what happens? How do we implement clicks for the actual cell? Not when there is a button here, but like when the whole cell itself, like it's clicked now. So it's really simple. You set a click listener for the items. So we go into our set click listeners, and we say list view dot set on item click listener, new on item click listener. And then we simply in this case I'm just gonna toast the I'm just gonna toast item clicked. Let's see, tools dot toast let's see, let me grab the name, the amount of the transaction. So this will be string. Let's see. So this will be transaction. Transaction. We're gonna call this transaction equal to gets bank dot get transactions dot get index, and then we pass in the position. So this is how we are accessing the corresponding item that was clicked. So now we have the transaction. We can now just toast the value here. So we're gonna say transaction dot source. Just gonna toast the source. That's the string. Then we pass in context. All right. So this is the click for a item. That's the click for item. All right. So let's run this app and check. Oh, it's loading. It's loading. So as you can see, it's working. ATM. Come on. Waiting for this to go so I can click again. See, energy bill. So that's how you set up these these list views to be clickable. And again, it's important that the user gets a visual feedback. That's why I made you that cell, the cell selector. So we've talked about list view setup, adapter, animations, adding new items to list view, removing items, working with date objects, which I showed you how to do that. It's pretty much just this, and then we use this to customize the dates to show just the path we need, which is just the time. Then we have our hash maps and then activity lifecycle. So in Android, there is something called HashMaps. You've probably dealt with array lists. we've dealt with array list of something like bank transaction, but there is also something called hash maps. Hash maps are a type of data holder that holds key value pairs. So in this case, we are holding a string and an integer. Um, so it holds a list of these strings and integers. So imagine you have imagine you are an explorer. You harvest shipwrecks and find chests, and imagine for each chest there is a key next to them. So you store these chests and their keys to unlock the chest into a kind of list, you know. But the thing is, when you want to access these chests, you don't access them by their index. Rather, you say, okay, this is the key, give me the corresponding chest. This is the key of this one, give me the corresponding chest. So that's how we deal with hash maps. It's also kind of like a PO box, whereby you are given a box and then you access them with a key. So that key could be any kind of object, and also the value could be any kind of object except null. Null is a no value. So in this case, a good example would be we say chests. After initializing the hash map with the key type and the value type, they could be any kind of object. So you say chest dot, in this case the hash map dot key, and then you pass in chest.put key, and then you pass in the value. So it stores these two. When you want to retrieve that item, you say chest.get the key, and then it returns the value. When you want to remove the item, you simply say chest.remove the key, and then that removes the key and the value. This is good to know because a lot of times in list views, you really don't want to be accessing a list, because saying list.get index can be expensive sometimes. Rather, it's best to use something like a hash map, which is faster in a way, and it makes your programming easier because you have all these keys to everything you need. You just access them very easily. So imagine here we under our customize cell. So we could say, imagine we had a map of the chests. We could say here chest hash map dot get key, and that will give us the chests, which we'll now use to customize our table view. So just keep this in mind. It's something you're gonna need a lot in programming, a lot. It saves a lot of processing time. Then the other thing is, and the last thing we're going to talk about today is Android activity life cycle. So when you pick up a phone and click an app and the app launches, there are stages the app goes through. When you start eventually using the app after it launches, you are currently in between here, between on resume and on pause. You are probably already familiar with Oncreate. Oncreate is where we always do our initialization stuff. That's this one. Let me make this bigger. View, appearance, enter presentation mode. So Oncreate is where we always do the initialization stuff. So Oncreate is what happens when the app is getting created or the app is getting set up, before you even see the app. That's pretty much right after you click it. So that's Oncreate. There is on start, which happens after Oncreate, and then on resume, which happens after on start. So this is where the app is running. But when you leave the app for any reason, on pause is called, on stop is called after that, and then on destroy eventually. You have to understand these because they pretty much mean what they say literally. On create, the app is getting created. On start, the app is starting after being created. On resume, the app has resumed. The app gets resumed after an on pause. So imagine you press the home button, the app goes in on pause, this one, and then when you come back to the app goes to on resume. And these are functions that actually gets called in the app. Okay, for example, imagine the app went to on pause and then it comes back to on resume. you simply say, um, you can put codes into those blocks by saying, so somewhere like here you say on resume, and then in here you pass in the, sorry, okay, below the super. This is where you write the code you want to happen in onResume. You can override any of these functions like onStop. onStop is when the app is stopping, but most popularly is the onDestroy. This is when the app has finished, has destroyed itself or about to destroy itself. A lot of people, a lot of programmers, a lot of developers, they clean up stuff in onDestroy. So you simply say onDestroy, and then the suggestion comes up, onDestroy. See it here. So this is where you can, something like clear a list if your list is containing a lot of stuff. You can say bank, dot blow up, something like that, or bank dot close down, whatever. But this is where you clean up stuff if you need to. Then the next thing I want you to know is that whenever you load an object that is heavy, you should always think about cleaning up that object before the app closes down. And that should be somewhere like in onDestroy. All right, so you're going to be seeing these cycles a lot in programming, so keep this picture in mind and understand them. Remember that when the app is running, it's in between onResume and onPause. All right, we're almost there. Next session, we're going to be talking about using list views in a more advanced way. So it's going to be our last technical session before we do some rounding up. So with that said, I will catch you guys in the next one. We've created a full bank. We're gonna be rich.